It was supposed to be the best night of my life. The apartment glowed with string lights I'd spent hours entangling, laughter spilled from every corner, and my boyfriend of 6 years, Jake, raised a glass to us, while everyone cheered. I smiled so wide my cheeks hurt, completely unaware that in less than an hour, those same friends would watch me get dragged toward the door like a stranger. "Get out," he shouted, his voice cutting through the music. And just like that, the woman who had built our life together was replaced, right there in front of everyone. But what happened next, when she opened my files? Well, that's the part nobody saw coming. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you loved more than yourself, stick with me until the end. This one hits hard. My name is Elena, and 2 years ago I was the kind of woman who believed love could survive anything. Jake and I met in college. He was the charming film student with big dreams, and I was the quiet graphic designer who fell for his passion. I supported him through every late-night edit, every rejected script, every "I just need more time" phase. While he chased his directing career, I worked 2 jobs so we could afford the apartment, the equipment, even the fancy camera he swore would change everything. I never minded. Love means sacrifice, right? I told myself that every time I skipped my own art shows to be his biggest cheerleader. The party was my idea. Jake had finally landed a small indie gig, his first real directing job, and I wanted to celebrate him. I baked his favorite red velvet cake, invited all our friends, and wore the emerald dress he once said made my eyes look like stars. The music thumped, people danced, and for a moment everything felt perfect. Then I noticed her, Mia, a young actress from his new project, barely 23, with effortless confidence and the kind of laugh that turned heads. She kept touching Jake's arm, whispering in his ear. I brushed it off. He'd always been friendly with cast members. But as the night wore on, the whispers grew louder. Friends gave me pitying glances. I found Jake in the kitchen, cornered by Mia, their bodies too close. My stomach twisted. "Can we talk?" I asked softly, pulling him aside. That's when everything shattered. "You're embarrassing me, Elena," he hissed, his eyes cold in a way I'd never seen. "Mia understands my vision. She gets the industry. You're holding me back with all your practical nonsense. The bills, the schedules, the constant worrying. I need someone who inspires me, not someone who nags me about rent." The words landed like punch. I stood there stunned, the party noise fading into a dull roar. Before I could even respond, he raised his voice for everyone to hear. "Get out. Take your stuff and leave. We're done." Friends froze. Someone turned the music down. I felt my face burn with humiliation as tears stung my eyes. "Jake, please," I whispered, "this is our home. I helped build everything here." But he was already turning away, Mia's hand slipping into his like she belonged there. A couple of his buddies awkwardly helped me gather a few things: my purse, my laptop bag, some clothes thrown into a trash bag. I walked out into the cold night with nothing but the dress on my back and a heart that felt ripped in half. The Uber driver asked if I was okay. I couldn't even answer. I crashed at my friend Sarah's place that night, crying until my eyes swelled shut. The betrayal cut deeper than I could explain. 6 years. Countless nights I stayed up editing his scripts for free. Birthdays I spent alone because he was networking. I had put my own dreams on hold. My graphic novel series, the freelance clients I turned down, to be his rock. And in one drunken party moment, I became disposable. Replaced by someone younger, flashier, less nagging. The pain was physical, like my chest was caving in. How do you rebuild when the person you trusted most destroys the foundation? The next morning, Sarah handed me coffee and my laptop. "He blocked you everywhere," she said gently. "But maybe check your files before you delete everything. Closure or whatever." I almost didn't. The laptop was full of our life. Photos, shared documents, old love letters I'd saved like a fool. But something made me open the folder labeled personal. And that's when I found it. Years earlier, when Jake's first big project fell through and he spiraled into depression, I had started secretly recording voice memos. Not to use against him, just to remember the real moments. The nights he cried about his fears, the promises he made, the way he admitted he couldn't do any of this without me. There were also financial spreadsheets I'd kept meticulously because he hated adult stuff. Every expense, Every time he used our joint account for industry events that were really nights out with other women. Screenshots of flirty texts I'd discovered but chosen to forgive. And my own unfinished graphic novel, the one I'd poured my soul into during the loneliest months, featuring a heroine who looked suspiciously like me, fighting to reclaim her voice after betrayal. I sat there shaking. These files weren't revenge material at first. They were proof that I had loved deeply, worked hard, and carried us both. But Sarah convinced me to organize them. We created a simple presentation. Nothing dramatic, just facts. The next day, when Jake's friends started reaching out with half-hearted apologies, the truth spread quietly. One of them, his longtime best friend Marcus, asked to see the files. After reviewing everything, Marcus confronted Jake privately. Turns out Mia wasn't just inspiring. She had already started questioning Jake's stories after seeing inconsistencies in his tales about how hard he worked alone. The real turning point came a week later. Jake showed up at Sarah's door, looking wrecked. "Elena, I made a mistake. The party got out of hand. Mia opened your laptop looking for music or something and saw the folders. She read the memos. She left me that same night, said she didn't want to be part of something so messed up." His voice cracked. For a second I almost felt sorry for him. But then I remembered the humiliation, the trash bag of clothes, the way he'd erased 6 years like they were nothing. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I simply showed him the full presentation on my laptop, the one I had polished with my graphic design skills, the same skills he once called boring office work. Every sacrifice, every quiet strength, every time I chose us over me. "You didn't just kick me out, Jake," I said. "You kicked out the person who believed in you when no one else did. These files, they're not weapons. They're proof I survived you." He left without another word. And for the first time in years, I felt free. Rebuilding wasn't easy. I moved into a tiny studio, took back my freelance clients, and finally finished that graphic novel. It got picked up by a small publisher who loved the raw emotion, the story of a woman finding her power after being replaced. Friends who had stayed silent at the party slowly came back, ashamed but supportive. I learned who my real people were. The nights were still hard sometimes. I'd remember the laughter at that party and feel the sting of abandonment. But every time doubt crept in, I opened those files again, not to dwell, but to remind myself of my resilience. Today, I'm not just surviving. I'm thriving. My art is reaching people who message me saying, "Your story gave me courage to leave my own toxic situation." I met someone new eventually, not a replacement for Jake, but a partner who sees my strength instead of resenting it. And the biggest lesson, never dim your light for someone who fears your brightness. If this story touched you, if you've ever been kicked out, replaced, or made to feel small in your own life, hit that like button. It helps more than you know. Subscribe for more real stories of heartbreak, healing, and comeback. Drop a comment. Have you ever discovered strength in your lowest moment? Share it below. Your story might inspire someone else fighting the same battle. Remember, the files of your life, the memories, the work, the love you gave, don't disappear when someone tries to erase you. They become the map that leads you home to yourself. Thank you for watching until the end. You're stronger than you think. Keep going.